And we are off. We are live as well. Welcome, everyone. It's the post-game recap after the Miami Dolphins 20-17 victory against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Hard Rock Stadium in Week 17. And you thought they wouldn't win another game. Shame on all of you who thought that. We will discuss everything there is to discuss about the game, how the loss was not really that big of a deal in terms of the draft position. I know there are certain Dolphin fans who are like, oh, man, why would they win? Not like the Giants and the Raiders who are playing as we're starting taping this at 5 p.m. in a really, I just tweeted this. It's like it's so ridiculous that they're playing for the number one overall pick and they basically win by losing or lose by winning. Anyway, that's the Giants and the Raiders. Dolphins have their own issues. To discuss the Dolphins win at Hard Rock Stadium and every issue related to the team, joined again, as always, in the post-game recap by Dante Collinelli, deputy editor of Miami Dolphins on his side. Dante, pretty good performance by the Dolphins.
Yeah, I thought you got some nice flashes on offense, some nice flashes on defense. You won the special teams war, had a block kick. You made your kicks, made a difference in the game. You won by 3. So all around, like, I don't know when the last time I really felt like the Dolphins were like the best team in all three phases in a game, like probably since they just throttled the Jets a couple weeks ago. So it's been a couple weeks. And the Buccaneers were really bad, but they are at least a somewhat, I think, a step up in competition compared to the Jets of the world. So I'll take it. I'll take it. All 3 phases made some nice plays. They won a game. Buccaneers are collapsing. The Dolphins were the better team today. And I did not think I would be saying that when we did the preview show yesterday. So good stuff.
Yeah, and the magic stat, again, came true. There are 2 magic stats. When the Dolphins have 30 or more rushing attempts, I don't think they reached 30 rushing attempts in this game, but they have 3 takeaways. When they have 2 or more this season, they're now 6-1. The 1 loss against the Carolina Panthers in Week 5. Every other game, they get takeaways. And today they had 2 interceptions. Jason Marshall Jr., very nice catch, falling down on we're going to be honest about it, really bad throw by Baker Mayfield, badly underthrew Jalen McMillan. Second throw, Ashtyn Davis with the pick, where I guess he was turned the wrong way at the beginning when Baker Mayfield looked downfield to the wide receiver. I think it may also have been Jalen McMillan, maybe Nebuka, who wasn't really that open anyway. The cornerback who was there, I think it was Jack Jones, had pretty good coverage on him, but it became an easy fly ball to field for Ashtyn Davis once he turned around to the other side. And then you had the fumble caused by Bradley Chubb, and we'll talk about his incentives and all that. That was sack number 8.5 on the season for Chubb, recovered by Quentin Bell, and that was basically your ball game. The Dolphins gave up a 91-yard touchdown drive in 3 plays. To make it closer than it should have been. But this time, unlike New Orleans, they recovered the onside kick. Quinn Ewers, very solid, very efficient. That was a word Mike McDaniel used. This is what we like out of our Dolphins quarterbacks. It wasn't necessarily explosive, but he overall very solid. Would you like about Ewers or not? Are you becoming a little bit more of a fan now or no?
I mean, I think my opinion has always been like, if Ewers can prove that he can be a backup quarterback, I'm good with that. And I think that's what you've seen through 2 weeks. I think I would feel good about going into next season with him a part of that room. And I would give him an opportunity to, depending on what the other quarterbacks in the room look like, to compete for that job. And if not, I'd feel fine with him being quarterback too. I think right now you're seeing a player who runs the offense. He can be efficient when things are what way they're supposed to be. He's willing to take shots. He's willing to take off a little bit. We had a quarterback scramble and dive head first for a first down in this game to bleed some more timeouts and some clocks. How about that? So, but I think you also saw some of the limitations that you have in Quinn Ewers in that second half. I think he threw for less than 30 passing yards in the second half. His completion percentage went down a good bit. I mean, he was like 9 of 10 at halftime. He ended up like 14 of 22. Or something like that. Might be a little bit off on the numbers, but it's something roughly in that range. And I think the Dolphins are using an unsustainable amount of play action to kind of sustain Quinn Ewers' efficiency. But that's what you kind of get out of backup quarterbacks. You have to curate a very specific game plan for them. Things need to be open. I think Quinn did a nice job. I think he's done a nice job since he's come into the lineup. I think it's very clear that he gives the team a better chance to win right now than Tua Tagovailoa, at least to me. And so I was not expecting that. So if you're asking me if I've become more of a fan of Quinn Ewers, maybe, yeah, he has performed better than I thought he would. But I think it's a huge win for the Dolphins if you can get a good quarterback too as a 7th-round pick who's under contract for multiple years. It's a ginormous win, and I don't really expect anything more from that the rest of the way.
Yeah, and if I look at the San Francisco model, which is what I've been tempted to do for quite a bit since Mike McDaniel came from that. It's kind of the same system, the Kyle Shanahan system, which makes quarterbacks that nobody would look at and be like, whoa, that guy's a dude, become passers who get 100 ratings. Again, if things work around them and they become efficient. And then this is what Ewers did. I don't think there's anybody who would suggest there's anything special about Ewers, but he makes the right decisions. He takes care of the ball and delivers a play here and there. I think the Dolphins could have something. Again, it's still 2 starts. This is not to suggest. I don't think you were. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I certainly am not suggesting that he can become more than a functional backup. I don't think he's going to blow anybody away with his physical traits. It's 2 starts. It's impressive. Certainly already I like him more than I ever liked Skylar Thompson. I like him more, in fact, than any backup quarterback I've seen for the Dolphins probably since Teddy Bridgewater, and maybe even more than Teddy Bridgewater, because Bridgewater was very, very fragile. So
I want to correct myself real quick before we move on, because his completions after the half were not as bad as I thought. He was 4 of 7, so just the 7 attempts for 28 yards. In the second half, he also took a sack. So not as bad as I thought in that second half from a completion percentage wise. But I think you kind of saw the offense go into a bit of a shell because Quinn can't do everything that you need him to do. And look, that's fine. It's his second start. Like I'm really not holding it against him, like per se. It just kind of is what it is. I'm still highly skeptical of him being anything more than a functional backup personally, but I also have a lot more ground to make up on my opinion because I was lower on him than I think other people were. But he played well today. He really did. He played well. I think all signs are positive for Quinn Ewers as so far as I think he's going to end up being a factor in this quarterback room going into next season. And that is a 100% a win, whether you think he's a backup or a future starter.
No, without question. We also need to point out, to be fair, that the game circumstances dictated a little bit of what the Dolphins would do in the second half. Although if you look at the big picture, here we go again. While they didn't get demolished in the third quarter like they usually do, they still scored only 3 points after halftime. And that came, early in the fourth quarter, and I believe that came after the long kickoff return from Malik Washington. I think that was set up by that, where again, this was the same thing he did on his punt return for a touchdown against New England earlier in the year, where he basically is boom right into the pile. Nobody wraps him up, gets out, and then goes to the outside. And on this one, I really love Ollie Gordon running with him down the field and then throwing a block at the 45-yard line plus. That was cool stuff. We certainly have to. I don't even know we're going to address this per this game. But let's jump into this. This is a kind of game, as Cincinnati was a game that was clearly in the bad column for Mike McDaniel being retained in 2026. This was a game clearly in the good column. You showed fight. You beat a team that's in playoff contention, which might still win the NFC West with an 8-9 record. That's a different story, and I know it drives some people nuts, including Joe Shad from the Palm Beach Post. You too, I guess. You don't like this idea. To me, it's like, if you're going to do away with the automatic home game for winning your division, then scrap the divisions. And I'm fine with that. As long as you're going to keep divisions with 2 games against each of your division opponents, you have got to make it mean something significant to win your division. And it's cyclical also. Go ahead.
I think you should have to have a winning record. That's my only stipulation. If you do not have a winning record, you do not get to host a home game. I'm fine with the automatic bid for the division. That part doesn't bother me. But 8 wins, home game, come on. God. It's bad. It's bad. There's going to be a 12 or 13 win 49ers, Seahawks, Rams team on the road in Carolina or Tampa Bay in wild card weekend.
Yep.
I mean, give me a break. Like, it's fine if you want to invite them to the party. That's great. I don't want them hosting it at their house. They didn't earn that. That ridiculous. Anyway,
okay.
Dolphins don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, we digress. If it's Carolina, actually, they'll be 9-8. So, but we shall see.
Okay, well, you know what? Go Panthers then.
Yeah, to me, it would be more poetic justice, and it would be a better look. It would, if the Dolphins played another team that had a winning record as opposed to having a losing record. Not that the Dolphins beat them, and I think, unless the math is still, correct, that they've beaten only one team that has a winning record, that being the Buffalo Bills. So, which is kind of a recurring theme the past 3 seasons under Mike McDaniel, which certainly would be an argument against him coming back. We shall see. No decision has been made. I suspect there will not be any kind of statement after the regular season finale against New England Patriots next Sunday. The kickoff time of that game to be set more than likely either very late Sunday night or first thing Monday morning. Spoiler alert, because New England is 13-3, Denver is 13-3. Denver is no longer playing for the division. They've already clinched the division. Methinks Dolphins are playing at 4:25 on next Sunday, because the NFL is going to want those 2 games at the same time, because they want every game to have meaning. And right now, again, whichever of these 2 teams wins next week if both teams win, Denver gets the first seed. Denver loses, New England wins, New England gets the first seed. So I would suspect, and for those who care about such things, I think you have 2 of your 3 standalone games. Remember, there'll be a game Saturday at 4:30, Saturday at 8, Sunday night, the regular last game. Carolina, Tampa Bay for the NFC South, Baltimore, Pittsburgh for the AFC North. Those are going to be 2 of your 3 standalone games. The next one to me is going to be Seattle, San Francisco, if the 49ers beat the Bears on Sunday night, because that game then becomes for the NFC West title. So, and if Chicago beats San Francisco, which I believe would clinch, I believe it would clinch the NFC West for Seattle, then I don't know. But it's not going to be Denver or New England again, because that would create a scenario where, depending on the result, there would be nothing left at stake. So, again, you heard it there first. Dolphins at New England at 4:25 p.m. Unless I'm wrong. How's that? You love that. Running game, nothing crazy about the running game. It seemed like they only had very, very few attempts, particularly early on, and then it got going. And again, it was very, very good in terms of the yardage per attempt. And in the second half, as has been the case for so many weeks, wasn't nearly as good. There were some moments as well, but Achane ran well. Jalen Wright also looked very good.
Yeah, I thought the Dolphins got pushed whenever they wanted it up front. And I think that kind of goes into an interesting conversation about the play of Andrew Meyer. I didn't notice him in a bad way at the one penalty in the game. I thought he was moving people and doing his job. It wasn't Aaron Brewer. He wasn't doing the things that Aaron Brewer does, but I don't really expect him to do that. So to me, in the running game, I saw a lot of good push on the interior, on the outside. Devon Achane was breaking tackles and making plays. Jalen Wright had a couple of really nice runs. I think it was a 32-yarder that set up the Dolphins' first touchdown, or was it a field goal? I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure, but he had like a 32-yarder. They got down to the low red zone. I think that's when they kicked the field goal. Yeah, it's when they kicked the field goal. So I thought the running game was good when they wanted it for a while. And then kind of in that fourth quarter, when it kind of seemed like they were trying to run the clock a little bit, just kind of let things drip away. The Buccaneers really sold out to stop the run, and they got a bunch of stops. The Dolphins weren't really getting a ton of push, but they were gapped out. The Buccaneers were just sending everybody after the run there late in that fourth quarter. So I thought when the game script gave them an opportunity to keep the Bucs off balance, and they were committed to running the ball, because they didn't really run the ball in the first quarter at all, which was strange. It just kind of didn't work out that way. A couple penalties, fell behind the sticks, whatever. They got what they wanted there. I think you saw Achane's still a really good player. I think you saw that the offensive line has done a decent job this year. I think overall in the running game, I think pass protection, different conversation. And then you have Jalen Wright, who's done a nice job with the limited touches he's gotten here down the stretch. So all around, I was happy with the running game performance from pretty much every facet, even though the numbers aren't overwhelming.
And for the record, the Dolphins finished with exactly 30 rushing attempts, and they didn't come close to that against Carolina. Therefore, whenever they get 30 rushing attempts plus 2 or more takeaways, they're undefeated. There's your formula right there. Let's duplicate that. Let's do that every game next year, and the Dolphins will run the table.
There you go. Problem solved.
There you go. If only we're that simple, right? Ewers wound up throwing 2 touchdown passes, the long one to Theo Wees Jr., where everybody, including Wees himself, Fox analyst Jonathan Vilma, could not stop talking about how Ewers looked at the shorter receiver in the route. It may have been Malik, I believe it was. To me, that's like, my word, what are you doing, Tampa Bay secondary? It's like, and Vilma kept pointing out to Jamel Dean, who's the cornerback, for going low on Malik Washington, where to me is a safety in the back. Smith, it's like, who are you covering exactly? To me, that was a lot more on him than it was on Jamel Dean. And it was a good throw. I mean, nothing outrageous. And then the one thing I noticed, and I hate to be that guy, sorry, that's who I am. Not exactly a speed merchant, Theo, when he got in the open field after making that catch. He got there. But
you can't just let the guy have his 63-yard first career touchdown. Got to call him slow.
Dude, I did this. I need to be fair because I did the same thing. The Houston Chargers game on the Saturday, the first was it the 75-yard touchdown pass right off the bat. He's a wide receiver who caught the pass in the open field, ran like the last 40 yards, and it's like I could have used a sundial to time him. I mean, he still scored. He didn't get caught, but damn, that's not fast. Anyway, but props to Theo Wees, and I put that on Twitter as well. I was very happy for him because his debut last week was a little bit rough, so that was good. The throw to Dulcich for the second touchdown pass, that was pretty sweet. However, near the goal line, Quinn, if you do a shovel pass and it gets tipped at the line, bat it down. Don't catch it. I mean, it's very cool that you got a catch and a reception, a pass completion and a reception on the same play, but also lost 6 yards. And can we please stop with the damn quick hitters at the line of scrimmage, particularly if you're going to set your tight end wide with in space with nobody in front of them. I'm talking about that 7-yard loss of Greg Dulcich where he basically had a Buccaneers player in his mug the second he caught it. That play had 0 shot.
I'll be curious if anyone asked Mike about that post game, because that was one of those play calls that was like so bad. I have a hard time thinking that was the right play. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, nobody blocked. Nobody, like the Buccaneers defense was pointing out Dulcich before the snap. It was a really strange play call, like to a really strange player. Like, I like Dulcich, but like, you kind of want to get him moving first and then throw him the ball and then he can do something for you. If you're going to throw to somebody standing still, that's Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle, not Greg Dulcich. So like that was almost like such a bad play that I have like trouble thinking that was the play called in the huddle. But I don't know, man, maybe it was. Mike has a couple of games that are real head scratchers, and that one certainly goes into that category. And then as for like the Theo Wees play, like that's on Tyke Smith, the safety dude. I don't know what we're doing, yelling at Jamel Dean. Look, Quinn Ewers. Okay, so that concept is a high-low concept, right? It's meant to attack Jamel Dean. The read for Ewers is if the corner sinks, and in this case that would take Theo Wees' route, I'm going to throw the ball to Malik Washington. If the corner steps up, I'm going to throw the ball over Jamel Dean's head to Theo Wees. Jamel Dean is cooked. If the route spacing is correct and Quinn Ewers has good timing, he's in a really tough spot. He has to make a decision. Correct. He went for Malik Washington, which frankly against the Miami Dolphins, I don't blame them. They like them quick hitters. I would do the same thing. Tyke Smith's got to be there to make the play. Now, I think it's a completion either way. It's probably still first down, but not a 63-yard touchdown. It was a terrible angle from Tyke Smith on the back end. I think the Dolphins beat the Bucs there with a good play call into that defense. Quinn Ewers executed it well. Theo Wees executed. Malik Washington executed. Tyke Smith, you got to make a tackle there. He should be arriving right as Theo Wees gets the ball to make that tackle, not running downhill 5 yards in the wrong direction while Theo Wees runs by him. So, I mean, good play for the Dolphins, good throw by Ewers, but yeah, I have no idea why we're so upset with Jamel Dean. To me, that's an easy one on Tyke Smith. You got to be able to get there and make that tackle. But good for Theo Wees, man. I'm happy for him because I thought, like, again, he had some unfortunate plays in last game, but I think you saw a player who was capable of making an impact in an NFL receiving room as well. So it was nice to see him, get rewarded with a nice first career touchdown there.
Yeah, he's a big body who positions himself well and will make the catch. What he doesn't have very good speed. And
no, but there's a role, right? The Dolphins haven't had that player really, and I think that as you look ahead, if he's your wide receiver 4 as a big body guy, maybe you give him the Cedric Wilson reps. For next year, you teach him how to block. Like, that's a win to me, man. That's a UDFA contributor. So I'm happy with what we've seen from Theo Weiss, even if he had a bit of a rough debut.
Oh, I concur. We need to talk about Rasul Douglas. Again, another very good game. And the one thing, he got called for a DPI at the end of the game. Let's not pretend that he's not physical, meaning if the refs decide one day to call it really tight, he's going to get a few flags in a game. There was a play in the end zone on a back shoulder throw where it's interesting because he had a lot of contact before the ball was thrown, and then Evans kind of like fought him off, and then Rasul like threw himself on the ground like that, and then looked at the official like, wow, where's the flag? OPI. It was an incomplete pass in the end zone. My point being, overall, though, he did a very, very, very nice job. You can't complain that you're going to get called with a DPI at some point. As physical as Rasul Douglas is playing, not that I have a complaint with it, but this is going to come with the territory. And there's one thing I noticed also, he didn't get called on that, but it's a new, I don't know if they're starting to teach this technique to NFL cornerbacks. And if the officials decide to make it a point of emphasis, it's going to be a flag fest. This move of holding down the inside arm of a receiver as he's going down the sideline, I don't recall. I've seen this 20 times more than this season than I've ever seen it before. Like, it's nonstop. And it's like, technically, guess what? That's a DPI. And a lot of times, and this is the thing about the officiating, which is why it's so easy to bitch at the officiating. There's so many calls that could get flagged that don't get flagged. And then you have plays that are exactly similar, then they decide to flag it. And then sometimes they come at bad times in the game. And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. I can tell you, the only thing coaches and players want is consistency. Give me an idea of how it's going to be called, when it's going to be called, then I can adjust accordingly. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. And again, the play that got Douglas a flag on that last drive wasn't that much different than the play where he didn't get flagged early in the game. So it's one time they decided not to throw it, one time they decided to throw it. But overall, my overriding point is he played very well. Thought Jack Jones had a very nice game. Love the way he tackles, gets involved in run defense and all that. Ashton Davis, who you and I have kind of not necessarily been very complimentary. Truth be told, I don't think he had a great game either, but he made the pick, so give him his props for that.
I famously have never said anything bad about Ashton Davis before. I think I literally had a tweet like a drive before, not even a drive, like 3 plays before the INT, because he finally had a PBU, because the Buccaneers had like 5 plays in this game where the receiver just caught the ball right in front of Ashton Davis, and he just like got out physical at the catch point, and he finally got a PBU on the one that was thrown to the running back near the line of scrimmage. He got the PBU, and I tweeted something very sarcastically about Ashton Davis finally making a play, and then he made me look really stupid, and he had a nice INT. But hey, man, good for him. It's been a tough year for Ashton Davis. I don't root against players. I want people to perform well, and he made a nice play on the INT, a nice little spin out of his safety rotation, and it mattered, right? Like that turnover and the Bradley Chubb turnover. I mean, the Bucs had an opportunity to, tie/win this game if they, depending on how many of those they convert into field goals and touchdowns and blah, 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 blah. So good stuff for Ashton Davis. I agree with you about Rasul Douglas. I don't think Jack Jones played particularly well in coverage in this game. He had a couple nice tackles. His coverage numbers are not going to be good. He got picked on a little bit by Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan a couple times in this game. I think you saw that was also a product of Rasul Douglas just like beating Mike Evans for most of this game. Now, I think there's a lot of fingers to be pointed at the Bucs offensive route concepts. I mean, we're just running Mike Evans on straight go routes 80% of the time, and I think you can get a little bit more creative than that, but that's not Rasul Douglas's problem. He can only cover the route that's in front of him. He did a great job that forced Baker Mayfield to funnel targets to Jack Jones, who battled, right? Like he just battled. He made a couple plays. He got beat a couple times. That happens at corner. I think that you kind of, I think you're okay with the way that Jack played today overall, even if the coverage numbers I don't think are going to look particularly good tomorrow. So overall, I mean, I think you have a player in Rasul Douglas who you've gotten more than your money's worth out of. And, Ashton Davis struggling made a play when it counted. And that's the type of stuff you need to win games that are decided by one score in the NFL. You need guys who aren't playing their best to make some plays sometimes. And so good for Ashton Davis. I'm happy for him. Yeah, as I jokingly said, I'm famously a big fan of Ashton Davis, obviously.
There's a little sarcasm going on over here. As we mentioned earlier, there was no I'll spit it out eventually. There was no Aaron Brewer in this game. That ended his streak of consecutive games at 75, dating back to the 2021 season when he was with the Tennessee Titans. His streak of consecutive starts at 66. He had started every single solitary game for the past 4 seasons, starting in 2022. Had a neck injury, was listed as questionable on the injury report. Understand that streak was very meaningful to him if he couldn't play, because he couldn't play. And Andrew Meyer started at center. The Dolphins could have chosen Daniel Brunskill. I certainly like the move of going to Andrew Meyer, who figures to be with the Dolphins a lot longer than Daniel Brunskill. The Dolphins also made active Josh Preby after elevating him from the practice squad. They made Kendall Lamb inactive, and this one was an interesting move. They made Derek McClendon inactive after elevating him from the practice squad on Saturday. And if I'm Derek McClendon, it's like,
what are we doing? Yeah,
why bother? I'm trying to think here if memory serves, or my head's in a cloud and I'm not getting it, what it would mean in terms of, no, he's still on the practice squad. If there would be any financial benefit for McClendon just having been elevated, and I don't believe
I don't think so.
Pardon me. So that certainly was a peculiar move. I don't know exactly the point. Chop Robinson left after being evaluated for a concussion. Mike McDaniel said after the game he is in the protocol. Translation to me is, don't think he's going to be playing in the regular season finale against New England. I still wouldn't expect Minkah Fitzpatrick. I wouldn't expect Aaron Brewer, now that his streak has been broken, to come back 1 week after he's dealing with a neck issue. There doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Jalen Waddle left the game briefly with, what was it described, rib injury, came back, played. But it could be a case where you're going to see a few players missing from that regular season finale against New England, which doesn't mean anything in terms of playoff considerations for the Dolphins. Could be very significant for New England if Denver loses against the Chargers, or if Buffalo defeats the Eagles. As we're talking, they're trailing 10-0 late in the second quarter. And then they would have to beat the Dolphins in the event of a Buffalo comeback today and a Buffalo victory against the Jets next Sunday to secure the AFC's title and give us a different division winner other than Buffalo for the first time since 2020. So I mentioned Bradley Chubb. So the reports are that his bonuses, which include an additional, I believe it's 900,000, around $1 million for every 2. He's already reached the threshold of 6 sacks. On Sunday, he reached another threshold of 8 sacks on the season. He's now got 8.5, but it's all contingent on the Dolphins finishing in the top 20 in scoring defense. They came into today 22nd. And if you look at the teams in front of them, one of them is Atlanta, which has Dolphins right now have given up 385 points after the 17 today. So that last touchdown after the 91-yard drive certainly wasn't very fun for that. Atlanta's at 360. That's 26 points less than the Dolphins have allowed. They play at the Rams on Monday night. I think the chances of the Rams scoring more than 26 points are pretty good, which would move up the Dolphins to 21st. Now we got to find another team to pass. And the other closest team now would be the Indianapolis Colts at 374, which is a 12-point difference. Indianapolis closes the season next Sunday against Houston, which means the Dolphins would have to give up 12 fewer points then against New England, then Houston would have to, Indianapolis would have to go up against Houston. The other teams that are within, Pittsburgh also would be within striking distance, but that's a 23-point difference. Pittsburgh's playing Baltimore at home for the AFC North title. Don't think that's going to be a very high-scoring affair. So I think Cleveland's at 361. That's a 25-point difference. Although they're playing Cincinnati, it could go, if it goes awry, maybe. It doesn't necessarily look great. And Baltimore's, mention Baltimore's at 372. 14-point difference for the Dolphins. They're playing Pittsburgh. So it maybe the Dolphins could wind up 21st in points allowed. I mean, how much would that suck if you get all your incentives wiped out because you didn't finish in the top 20, you finished 21st?
It's tough.
Ouch.
It's really tough. Yeah.
Okay. And the last thing before we get to the live chat is with the win, the Dolphins dropped down to 12th in the draft order. It's not significant. I think they came in, what were they, 9th or 10th? Not a big deal. I have a full story breaking it all down on what it looks like for a final 2026 draft position for the Dolphins based on the potential final results. Check it out at MiamiDolphinsOnSI.com for free. Without further ado, see what you fine folks have to say. We shall start with Noel B1. My man Noel, thank you as always for the donation, Noel. It is very much appreciated. And then for everybody who cares to donate to the show, do know we very much appreciate it. We appreciate anybody just watching us babble along and try to make sense of what we're seeing here. Noel, are the Dolphins given warm milk and sedatives at halftime? Watching third quarters this year has been painful. Why so ineffective? It's a great question. I don't even know if I have the answer. And I'm reminded of the Peyton Manning comment he made on the Manning cast where he said, there was no such thing as halftime adjustments. We chat for a little bit. We just chill out, take a break, words of encouragement from the coaches, and then we go back out. Remember, the halftime in the NFL is like 12 minutes. So I think the notion of halftime adjustments may be a little bit overblown. There's in-game adjustments, certainly, but still, it's like, man, crazy.
Yeah, I don't. If I had the answer, I'd be coaching for the Miami Dolphins right now. I think I'd get hired as a consultant because they've been getting killed in third quarters this year. It was only 3-0 in this one. Look, I understand why you thought they took sedatives. It wasn't an exciting third quarter, but they only gave up 3 points. So improvement technically. I think if you ask Mike McDaniel, hey, you're going to lose the third quarter battle 3-0 in this game, I think he'd probably be okay with that given what the rest of the season has looked like in the third quarter. So I don't have an answer. And even like Peyton Manning has said that. Athletes say that all the time, right? Like as somebody who used to work with a bunch of former NFL athletes at my old job, like they all said that. Like, dude, we just go in at halftime. Maybe we have like an Uncrustable and hang out at the locker for a second. And then we go back out on the field, and like we make adjustments throughout the entire game. It's not like that we all just save them for halftime. When we have an adjustment, we make it. Sometimes, maybe once in a while, it comes at halftime, but generally those things are happening throughout the entire game. So kind of surprised that it's come out the way that it has this year for the Dolphins. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is.
Maybe his motivational speech at halftime is just not cutting it out. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I would look at everything down to the Uncrustable flavor that they're eating in the locker room. I think everything is up for what did McDaniel say when he was going to change quarterbacks? Everything's on the table. Everything's on the table.
I agree. Tuck rule for trans cheerleaders. Okay, that's an interesting handle. Thank you very much for the donation. Much appreciated. Tua could be QB2 next season, and we gain nothing by cutting him. Ewers might be worth QB1 next season. He will need a vet to help him in this offense. He is very familiar in this offense. I don't think that's an issue. The issue is, again, what's the ceiling with him as a quarterback? That would be the big issue. And the idea of why you would move on from Tua, it's called addition by subtraction, where it makes for a bad dynamic. If Ewers has a bad game, was Mike going to be like inclined to like make a switch prematurely because he has Tua, who has had success before, even though is there any reason to believe that Tua can go back to being as efficient as he was before this season? Who knows? And it's a weird dynamic, whether we like it or it's just a weird dynamic. And I know it's worked to a certain degree in Atlanta with Kirk Cousins. Not saying it's impossible, but all the tea leaves suggest that no, that's not going to happen.
Even setting the dynamic aside, right? And I've said this on the podcast since Tua has gotten benched and we did the emergency show. To me, it's about a numbers game. You only have a set number of quarterbacks that you can reasonably give good developmental time to. Tua Tagovailoa, you have basically decided that he is not the future of your franchise. I don't want to waste time on a quarterback who's not the future of my franchise. I don't. It's a waste of reps in practice. It's a waste of reps in the preseason. It's a waste of whatever the regular season looks like. I'd be significantly more interested in having Quinn Ewers, a veteran, and another young player, whether that's a free agent or a draft pick in the fourth round, like whatever it ends up being. Like that to me is where I would target for the QB room, barring like a surprise, really good player coming available in the Dolphins, like a crazy scenario, right? Like a more realistic QB room to me. I don't know why I'm wasting a roster spot on Tua. Why? What am I getting out of it? Nothing. I can get his production out of Quinn Ewers. I'm not missing anything.
No, correct. And you gain nothing by cutting him. Yeah, you gain having a better idea of a better set of your top two quarterbacks.
Exactly.
Based on what the Dolphins feel about him right now, which is pretty clear. So that's what you gain. And here's the thing is, I understand the idea, well, you're paying him anyway, why not keep him? Well, the flip side to that is you're going to have to pay him regardless. What difference does it make whether you keep him or not?
Exactly. That's a great point.
Toby Marmarino, thank you very much, Toby. Very much appreciated. It seems like Ewers has a higher ceiling than Tua due to his athletic ability. Arm is not powerful, but the ball comes out of his hand effortlessly. I agree, but I don't know that means that Ewers has a very, very high ceiling. I don't believe he does. Is it higher than Tua's? Maybe, but Tua was also much more polished when they got to the NFL.
Yeah, I think I'm not saying that Ewers can't have a higher ceiling than Tua, but I do think we're forgetting what Tua looked like in 22 and 23. I mean, he was never elite, but like he was a good NFL quarterback who really did a lot of good things. And I think Quinn has a long way to go to get to where Tua was in 2022 and 2023. And I think we're kind of letting recency biases so far as what we saw last of him leak into our opinions here. But because I don't think Quinn is even close to an above average athlete at the quarterback position for the NFL. I would tell you he's a below average athlete. The bar is on the ground with where Tua was at in 2025 as an athlete. And so Quinn being a step up from that, frankly, does nothing for me. Like that's not saying much. No offense to Quinn, no offense to Tua. I like what Quinn did today, but I don't know that the ceiling is in his athleticism.
Correct. But I would point out, and get ready, fire the shots away. By all means, folks, let them rip. That the apples to apples comparison, if we're going to look at the Tua ceiling, is put the kind of speed on offense that Tua had in 22 and 23. When I think that's a factor that is never mentioned enough, other than by me, because I can't stop talking about it. But again, that talent on offense in those years, in terms of the speed outside, was completely insane. And put Ewers in that situation. Let's see how he does compared to Tua. Maybe he doesn't do as well as Tua did. We don't know. What we do know is, based with the talent that there is right now, it's not out of line to say that Ewers looks better than Tua did, especially in his last few weeks. Birthday Salami, thank you very much for the donation. Edge and safety got to be top priorities in the offseason. Chubb's gone after this year, and even then, most of his sacks are the QB lying in his lap. Ooh, harsh. Safety play has been weak all year. I would say Minkah Fitzpatrick has actually played pretty well. Ouch on Chubb. Ouch. He could be back if they restructure his contract again. Remember, Dolphins kind of basically told him, you need to redo your contract to come back in 2025, and Chubb stayed there. He's a leader on this team. I can tell you the Dolphins really like him because he's a good dude. He's a good leader. Is he a dominant edge defender? No. And the Dolphins will need an edge. I still think the jury's still out on Chop Robinson as to what he'll be as an NFL player. The second season was very troubling for me in terms of what we saw from him. And at safety, I think Dante Trader Jr. has potential. He's not there yet, and who knows how good he's going to become. So I don't disagree with those 2 points either. But Chubb, if we can get him to come back at a reduced salary, much lower salary cap, I don't think that door is closed. Is he going to be willing to do it for second year? I'll be on him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have a ton to add there. They do need, I think they would actually have to cut Chubb and then sign him to a new deal because you have to get all of his money off the books this offseason. I don't think you can just like restructure it like you did last year. But I agree with you that the door is not closed on him coming back on something that's significantly more affordable, whatever that looks like. But ultimately, I think the Dolphins need to add like 3 edge rushers, whether Chubb's back or not, whatever that looks like. You got almost nothing from Chop Robinson this year, suffered his second concussion this season in today's game. And that's 2 concussions in the same year. Like, that's tough, man. That starts to get into trouble territory. So I think the Dolphins really need to look at edge, setting quarterback aside for a minute here as maybe the biggest need on the team. And then, I've made my thoughts on Ashton Davis pretty clear.
What are they?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to say anything else because he made me eat my words there in the fourth quarter today. But yeah, I think safety is a big need as well because like even if you bring Minka back, he's not a long-term piece for you. I think he's kind of a short-term Band-Aid guy. And frankly, he played a lot in the slot this year. I think he probably might have more corner reps than safety reps on his resume this year. So I think edge and safety, yeah, definitely going to be towards the top. And I think there's some decent edge rushers in the draft, but we'll have all offseason to kind of go through that.
That is true. I was going to say something and I forgot. Must not have been very important if I forgot. Ian Mason. Ian, thanks, partner. Much appreciated. Ewers wasn't super impressive, but it's crazy how much better a QB with a decent arm looked than Tua. Also, Fly Eagles Fly beat those Bills. As I'm looking up, it's 10-0 Eagles in the final minute of the second quarter. They have the ball inside the 15-yard line, and the Bills have looked brutal. And it's weird because I know there are a lot of folks like looking at the AFC East. Don't have to worry about Mahomes. Don't have to worry about Burrow. Ravens might not be there. If not now, then went for the Bills, and they just don't look great. I don't know what's going to happen in the AFC. The Bills lose. It's an AFC East division title for the Patriots. So, but your other point, yeah. No. James Kotaridis, thank you very much for the donation. Very much appreciated. Yours as Matt Moore qualities. I could see yours throw a block Fiedler style. As a fan, this is much more enjoyable than a $50 million dud. I will preface this by saying I was a big Matt Moore fan in every way. Really, really cool dude. I think Matt Moore may have been a little bit better athlete than Ewers was. If I remember, he had a baseball background as well. Could I see Ewers throw a block Fiedler style? Yeah, I could see that. But Matt Moore was my dude. Ian Mason. Ian, thank you very much again. Watching Herbert yesterday got me sad. Dude is playing like a superhero, and his team is letting him down. Miami could have had him. So tragic. I got to be careful about. Somebody called me a Herbertier yesterday. That was funny. And I'm like, all right, how stupid are you? Like, seriously, I'm sorry if I have respect for guys who are really good. And if you watch the dude is like running obstacle course around his crap offensive line, throwing passes on the move, on the dot, and his receivers are dropping it. There's a clip from Mitchell Schwartz. And I didn't watch all of the game. I didn't see this play. He basically moves up in the pocket because there's pressure all around him, makes a quick inside move to avoid a defender, throws on the move across as he's moving a little bit to the left, to the right. It hits around the Gatson, and I mean perfectly in the hands, and the dude drops it. I mean, so if anybody thinks this guy is mid, tell that to your friends and all that, because not only me, practically every single national writer thinks he should be in the MVP conversation for doing what he's doing with that with that team. But if you think he sucks, he sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I had Tua over Herbert pre-draft in 2020 before the draft. I really liked Herbert though. I had them like pretty close, but I did have Tua over Herbert, so no revisionist history. I realized I was wrong about like 3 games into Herbert's rookie season. Before Tua even took the field, I was like, oh man, I think Herbert's going to turn out to be better. And my opinion has not changed since the end of their rookie seasons. You can do a lot of revisionist history in Dolphins and for the Dolphins, especially with quarterbacks. I think it's better to just appreciate watching Justin Herbert play football because he's really fun to watch and he's super cool. But I get it. Yeah, being upset the Dolphins didn't get him. It's a tough one, but don't beat yourself up about it. They're going to get another shot at a quarterback. There's always more shots. Chris Greer's gone. Who are you blaming? He's gone. All right, Chris Greer's gone. It's time to move on. We got to move past. All right, and I'm done beating myself up about it. All right, I live, I learn. We're going to do better next time.
Yeah, but see, I'm sorry because first of all, I refuse to believe it. It's never come out really who truly was behind the Tua pick. I refuse to believe that was a Chris Greer special because Chris Greer very, very, very seldom went against the wishes of the majority. So I'm sorry. No, that I refuse to believe that.
I'm not saying it was all Chris Greer, but he made the pick. He was the GM.
Well, if he's told to make the pick, then he made the official.
Okay, well, who else are you going to blame? You want to yell at Stephen Ross? He owns the team. He's not going anywhere.
If he kind of lean into, remember, he suggested Lamar Jackson in 2018, and he was told, no, we're going to make him because the right choice. Are we going to dismiss the possibility in 2020? He said, listen, I let it go on Lamar Jackson, let you guys make the move. And look what Lamar Jackson did. He won MVP his second year in the NFL. I want Tua. You guys are picking Tua. Are we dismissing the possibility?
I just don't think it's productive. I'm over it. Like that's where I'm at. Like I'm over the 2020 draft. It is what it is. It happened. I'm moving on.
I'm sorry, but you can't do. I understand where you're coming from, but it has repercussions to this day. If the Dolphins adjusting that quarterback, we're not talking about an offseason where the biggest question is what do they do at quarterback?
Yeah, I'm not saying they did a good job in 2020. I'm just saying, like, I don't think that there's any productive conversations that are going to come talking about, oh, what if they had Justin Herbert? They don't, and they haven't for 5 years. The person who led the football operations department at that time is now gone. And
I understand that, but the conversation
it's time to move on.
The conversation is why? How did that mistake happen, and how do we ensure it doesn't happen again? That's how that conversation needs to. Anyway, let's move on. Justin Herbert doesn't play for the Dolphins, so he sucks. He's crap. He gets carried by the defense.
There you go.
Line, which is the Great Wall of China.
Subscriber numbers are going up.
There you go. Exactly. The Tuaneers are going to be happy. Herbert sucks. So anyway, James, again, thank you very much. Backers remind me of Greenwood and Rogers circa 02. They're better than that, dude. Dante, young history lesson for those who are young and too young to remember this. The backers to whom James is referring are Marlon Greenwood and Derek Rogers. And Marlon Greenwood was one of those guys, one of those draft picks where the Dolphins traded. Oh, I want to see if I get this right. They traded a future 2 or a future 3 to get. I think they traded a future 2 to get a third, and took Marlon Greenwood, linebacker from Syracuse, who made a decent number of tackles, 0 impact plays. And Derek Rogers was a third-round pick, I want to say, from Arizona State, who had some decent time, but not a terribly impactful player, but clearly better than Marlon Greenwood. I believe Jordan Brooks and Tyrell Dotson would rank a level above those two. And Jordan Brooks has had a really, really good season. Oh, I should mention this. Jordan Brooks left the game with a hamstring injury. Again, he really wants to play. He entered the day leading Devin White of the Raiders in tackles by 9. He finished with 5 tackles. And as I'm looking here, if I have it, I had it here. Give me 1 second. If I look at Devin White in the third quarter, he has 5 tackles as well. So he still has a 9 tackle lead. as we head into here the 6 o'clock hour. Birthday salami. Greer gets to keep his severance package for Rasul. Okay. How about for Jordan Brooks, for Aaron Brewery? He's not all bad.
No.
Birthday salami again. Thank you very much for the donation, sir. I think the mental toughness angle with this team is overstated as Dante disappears. Fine, Dante, be that way. The reason they spiral after penalties, 3 and outs, and even at half is simply because they don't have the necessary talent at key positions, zero margin for error. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. We'll get Dante back at some point. If not, I'll go solo for the rest of the way here. We've got about another 10 minutes to go. There he is. He's back. Man, if I say something you don't like, just tell me. You don't have to disappear.
Well, I tried to find a light source as I'm like sitting in it. It looks like I'm sitting in a cave right now, but all the lamps in this room do not turn on. So we're thugging it out.
So Birthday Salami suggesting the Dolphins' issues when they can't overcome adversity has more to do with lack of talent than lack of toughness. And that's fair.
Yeah, it's I always struggle with how to talk about team culture because I feel like it is so closely related to wins. Because I see so many teams that are revered for their culture, and then they have one bad year, and it's like, oh, the culture is terrible. Mm-hmm. The Ravens are doing it right now. The Ravens, great culture. They built this amazing program. They win every year. They have one bad year where a bunch of guys get hurt. They have some turnover on defense, and now all of a sudden it's Lamar Jackson wants to play in Miami, and they should fire John Harbaugh, and blah, 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 blah. So I have a really hard time with how I talk, like how I feel about team culture and team toughness. I feel like we tie it so closely to results and not actually like anything that we know, because so few people are actually in the locker room having real candid conversations with players and coaches and how they feel. Because what was the big thing in New England during the Belichick era? It was the culture, the Patriot way. Tom Brady leaves. They have a bad season. All of a sudden, it just falls apart. The culture stinks now because they lost. And it's like, I don't know, man. So it's tough. I'm not telling you the Dolphins are a tough team. That's not what I'm telling you, because I don't think that. But I just think culture tends to kind of come and go with how many football games you're winning is kind of where my head goes. But
talent over everything. And in football, I would say talent and scheme over everything.
Yeah, agreed.
Toby stirring the pot. Thank you for the donation, Toby. It's not all bad, Fish fans. Tua would end his Finn's career with as many playoff wins as Justin Herbert. 0. Sorry, Poop. I will just ask you this question, Toby, and answer this honestly to yourself. What would the results of the Dolphins and Chargers have looked like had the two quarterbacks switched teams? I will leave it.
I can't believe we're doing box score scouting still in the year of our Lord 2025.
No. It is not. And my question,
no, not you, the person who asked this question. Just watch the games, man. Just open your eyes, watch Justin Herbert play for 4 quarters, and then go watch Tua Tagovailoa play for 4 quarters, and just honestly ask yourself who is doing the most quarterbacking there. And that's not a slight at Tua, man. Tua was good. He had some good years. It just didn't work out. Justin Herbert's just better. Like it doesn't have to be one guy's great and one guy stinks. Just whatever. We're moving on.
It's what it is. Julian Vivas, thank you very much for the contribution, sir. This is my last super chat as Zach Wilson will be gone. It was good getting to know you guys. Do you guys think Zach Wilson will be in the league? Are you related to Zach Wilson, Julian?
This might be Zach Wilson's burner. He's just sitting on his phone in the locker room right now, just typing up super chats.
He got done wrong, which leads to 2 questions: is how bad must he have been in practice? Number 1, number 2, why did the Dolphins bother signing him? Or did Mike McDaniel just realize, after being that was my guy, that was my target, and then dealt with him in practice? Like, yeah, maybe not. Do I think he'll be in the league next year? Probably, because there's such a need for quarterbacks. And the Brian Baldinger comment that he made on the Joe Rose show, where he talked about, I don't remember the exact phrasing, so don't hold me to it, but something along the lines of people in the NFL understand issues with the lack of preparation. That's the kind of thing that could keep you out of the NFL, but he's got a lot of arm talent, and I think there's such a need for quarterbacks. I would think he'd be in the NFL in 2026. To say it's a lock, I can't do that. Yes, no?
No, I agree. Yeah, I just thought we were moving on with that one. Yeah, totally agree. We got freaking who started for the Chiefs the other night. Like, I think there's plenty of room for Zach Wilson to be in the
Chris
NFL next year.
Oladipo.
Yeah, there we go. So no offense. Glad he got his opportunity, but yeah.
Toby again, stirring the pot. Do a tie for Super Bowl wins with Lamar, Herbert, Allen. And guess what, Toby? Trent Dilfer's a better quarterback than Dan Marino because he's got a Super Bowl ring and Marino doesn't have any. So there, settles it.
I hate to see it. I hate it.
What else we got? James again. Thank you, James. Let's trade down next draft and ride with Ewers. Sure you want to do that? Sure we want to do that?
Maybe trading down's fine, but I think that's independent of your quarterback evaluation, personally. And I am not riding with just Quinn Ewers next year. I'm not. So,
but I have zero issue is for a change. The Dolphins went into training camp next year with a pure, true, legit quarterback competition.
Yeah.
If Quinn Ewers involved, if he winds up being the best quarterback option, then go with it.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you.
That's why I like this little. Let's see what else we got. Mall Security. Thank you very much, sir. Was it Paul Blart? Was that the name of the movie?
Yeah, Mall Cop. Paul Blart.
There you go.
Mall Cop, yep.
Thank you very much for the donation. Always fun to win on margin. Mostly happy with Weaver and defense improving and warming up to rolling it back, largely due to the lack of obvious new options at head coach, quarterback, plus our newish GM. Thanks, guys. No, thank you. Defense played well. Didn't play well against the Bengals, though. Can't be like this. It's also very turnover dependent.
I think the Bengals game was a perfect encapsulation of talent problems, right? Like they just did not have the dudes to deal with Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, T. Higgins, and Jabbar Chase for 4 quarters. Like they just didn't have the guys to do that. And so I think Anthony Weaver was very candid about that in his most recent press availability. He was like, well, we piecemealed this thing together in August. And you know what? He's right. They did. And sometimes that gives you Rasul Douglas and Jack Jones, and other times you end up with other players who aren't as good and a lot of rookies playing a lot of snaps. So I think, I would be fine with giving Weaver another year at DC if they decide to run it back with Mike. Like, I don't know that I would need a change there personally. I just think you need to do a better job of not throwing together a bunch of super young players and August free agent acquisitions into the defense and expecting a hot start.
Except the argument could be made that at cornerback, the needs became greater because of injuries. Like Cater Cole, who they were counting on Cater to play a big role, tears an ACL, third practice of camp. Of course, the argument could be made they needed another one on the other side, and they were counting on one of their young guys on the other side. So maybe a defensive tackle to me, counting on 3 rookie draft picks to make a difference, and you add Matt Butler and you re-sign Benito Jones. I'm sorry, you need more than that next to Zach Sealer. So that was a miss for me. Ian, thank you very much for the donation. You got to take the Raiders' first-round picks. I've never seen a team tank this blatantly before. Front office coaching decisions. This is nuts. They're doing a very good job. They're losing. It's 20-3 Giants now in the third quarter. We shall see what they do with that first overall pick. James again. Thank you very much, James. Oh, you got to tell me how it is. Cheers, Alan, for getting my last name mostly right. James Kodoritis. You can tell me if that was correct.
We'll have to hear from James. We'll have to hear from James.
By the way, James, I can relate. If you're having issues with your last name being mispronounced, trust me, I can relate. Even my first name. So, Mandalorian with the £5. Thank you very much, sir. I read the excellent article about Willis. That was this dude who wrote it. What do you think about the idea of Richardson or Will Levis at Miami? Go ahead, Dante, since you wrote the story.
If they get cut from their respective teams for whatever reason, I don't know what that would look like. Indianapolis might have some changes in the front office this year, maybe at head coach, that would be a bit of a surprise, but I could see Richardson getting cut from that team as kind of the same reason you cut Tua. Honestly, you don't want to deal with the distraction of having a former top 5 pick in the building. In that scenario in which I get him on a super cheap contract, I would be interested. Same goes for Will Levis. My goal with the quarterbacks this year, and I think I put this pretty plainly in the Malik Willis article, is I want multiple players in the Dolphins quarterback room with like real, genuine upside. And I'm not in no way confident in Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, but they have cannons attached to their shoulder. And so I would be interested in seeing if they can be developed at a different place and if a change of scenery helps them. Kind of like, ironically, how it ended up helping Malik Willis in Green Bay, where he was awful with the Titans and he got to sit and learn for a couple of years under a good offensive coach. And now he looks like a potential starter. And so I think I could see a similar path for Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. And depending on who the head coach is in Miami, which I think we'll know before we hit free agency, it could happen in Miami. So I'd be interested, but only if they're cut. I would not trade an asset for Anthony Richardson or Will Levis.
I agree. Following training camp. Oh, okay. The issue with that works out. Anthony Richardson's a former first-round pick. He's heading to the final year of his rookie contract. Base salary next year is $1.145 million. Roster bonus of $4.2 million that is due on the third day following the training camp reporting date.
Okay.
Don't know about that. Let's see who we got. We're doing a little bit now. Toby again. Toby, my comment wasn't to say that Tua is better. He obviously is not. It was a sarcastic remark because at the end of the day, winning is all that matters. You're correct. Okay, thank you, Toby. Toby, you. Mall security, poking fun at your Herbert fandom is like teasing Omar, but passer rating, I like to think most people are in on the joke. Plus, who cares about the Chargers? Even LA does not care about them. Ooh. You are absolutely right. LA does not care about them.
Yeah.
Is my thinking Herbert is good, as bad as Omar, basing everything on passer rating? Oh, that hurts. Ouch.
Oh man!
No, and this part of for me is like I have a couple of issues with the whole situation. Number one is I'm pissed off at the Dolphins for taking the wrong quarterback, and that's why maybe I can't let it go.
Yeah,
because it's like that pisses me off. Number two, I get annoyed at Tua fans who never could realize who he was as a quarterback, even at his best when he was really good in 2022 and 2023, and it was like. And then you start hearing superpower and he makes the offense go. BS. Sorry, no, he was not the one who made the offense go. So that whole thing annoys me. And now it's like every time you bring up the fact that they could have had Herbert, well, Tua is just saying, yes, what's he want? So anyway, so that's part of my frustration. But okay, I got you, Toby. Or Mall Security. I got you guys. Okay. Winged Ninja, thank you very much. Are we still on pace for a half-measure decision from the coach? From the owner, thank you, Poop and Dante, for the Fins coverage. You're very welcome. Half measure being what?
Keeping Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My percentage, I think, before the game against Tampa Bay was 65%. He was coming back. Maybe now it's 70%.
Yeah, I made peace with it a while ago. It's not what I would do, and I will be critical of the decision if it comes down, but I made peace with it a couple weeks ago, if I'm being completely honest. I think they would have to get like their doors blown in by New England next week for Mike to get fired. I feel pretty confident that he's coming back. Not the decision I would make, though.
Yeah, and to me, the telling sign again is the contract extension you give to Mike McDaniel last year, early September, late August, when he had 2 years left on his contract. That is highly, highly, highly significant. That tells you you're in for the long haul with the guy, which is part of the reason he's going to get more leeway than maybe a lot of us think he should. And you know what? This one, Miami has nothing to lose. Dangerous team. If you got 6 or 7 high-end starters who are going to be kept out because they're dealing with some kind of injury, I don't know how dangerous they are.
Might be dangerous to themselves. I don't know about to the Patriots.
Ouch. Okay, Ian, that's going to be the last one. Ian, thank you very much again for the donation. 710 ain't status quo, so coach is going to be back. There you go.
You're not wrong, unfortunately.
You're stealing my lines because I said that either on this podcast or on the Dolphins Collective. It's not status quo. And watch him beat the Patriots. Remember 2019, the Dolphins were, what were they, 4-11 at the time?
Yeah, that sounds right.
4-11.
It might have been 5-10 actually. It might have been win 6.
And they stunned the Patriots, cost them a first-round bye. That was a year there were 2 first-round byes. Cost them a first-round bye, set them up to play Tennessee the following week. They got beat by Tennessee, and then that was the end of the Tom Brady era. And this is the end of the era of this particular all-podcast episode, the live breakdown of the Dolphins' 20-17 victory against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Hard Rock Stadium, moving the Dolphins' record to 7-9 with the season finale at New England remaining. I want to thank everyone again for watching, joining us, sharing in our foolishness. Herbert, Tua, McDaniel, whatever it might have been. Thanks for watching. We will be back here on Monday with another episode of the All Dolphins podcast. Check out the website. There'll be more to come this evening. MiamiDolphins.si.com for free. And please like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Dante, thanks as always. Everyone, thanks for watching.